Hello everyone and welcome back to Classic Comics. Today I'm reviewing the third episode of Superman and Lois. Now this review will have spoilers in it. If you haven't seen the episode, then you might want to watch that first and then come back. Okay, so we start off with Clark and Lois and the twins trying to put some paint up in the new house, and Lois can't make up her mind which paint she wants. This episode's really kind of heavy on the family drama stuff rather than superheroics. Then Clark hears a bridge collapsing in China. I didn't think his hearing was that good. And he saves the bridge. This is pretty much the only superhero sequence in the whole show, really, except for one fight later. And it does look pretty good visually, I'll give it that. Then we see Lana and her husband Kyle, who are in their vehicle outside of some kind of a therapy or counseling center where Sarah is seeing a mental health counselor or something. And they're kind of bickering about whether they should be waiting inside or waiting in the car. And then Sarah comes out to get in and she doesn't want to talk about it. And this is just kind of the beginning of the whole family drama stuff we see throughout this episode. Basically, we learn that Lana's family isn't as perfect as it seemed. At school, Jordan tries to talk with Sarah again, and again her boyfriend, whose name is Sean, gets pissed about it and confronts him and throws him up against the locker, and it looks like he's about to get into a fight with the kid. But Clark, out on the farm with his super hearing, can hear the fight taking place, so he heads to the school to defuse the situation. And when he arrives, the bully backs off and leaves, but the twins aren't really thrilled to find out that Clark is eavesdropping on their conversations, spying on them, as they say, although Clark, of course, doesn't really feel like it's spying. That evening, Clark and Lois have a talk. Apparently, she had caught him eavesdropping on her at one point and got really upset about it. And Clark decides that he'll stop eavesdropping on them going forward as it's too intrusive. At the Smallville Gazette, Lois and Chrissy Beppo are working on the Morgan Edge story, or really it's just Lois who is. And then a woman comes in who claims that her son was working for Edge in one of the other towns where he started a mining operation up, and now her son has disappeared, and she has no idea where he is. Then we see a guy in a car across the street who's kind of spying on them and watching their conversation. Presumably he works for Morgan Edge. Now at school, Lana is apparently the coach of the cheerleader team, and she's putting them through their paces, and Sarah is kind of not giving very good effort, so she kind of dresses Sarah down in front of the others, so Sarah gets pissed off and she quits the cheerleading team and storms out. Meanwhile, Jordan decides he wants to try out for the football team, and of course Jonathan thinks this is a bad idea, and I think he's right, but Jordan persists in wanting to try out for the team, and the coach decides to let him for some reason. And of course, as it turns out, with his Kryptonian enhanced abilities, he's actually pretty good. He pretty much wrecks everybody he goes up against on the field, and the coach is thrilled and decides to add him to the team. After school, the twins and Sarah are hanging at a local cafe, and then Lana shows up to talk to Sarah about what happened earlier, and of course she doesn't want to talk about it in front of everybody, but Sarah kind of forces the issue, and then they get into an argument, and then Lana takes Sarah and leaves. Then Clark arrives, and he talks to the twins and asks them how school was, and Jordan praises Jonathan's football playing performance, but of course neither one of them mentions that Jordan is now on the football team. Later that evening, while Lois and Chrissy are working at the Gazette, they hear a noise and come outside to find that Lois's car has been set on fire. Presumably this was done by someone working for Edge, probably that guy we saw watching them earlier. And also Lois is getting some resistance from Chrissy on the story, because she seems to be a little afraid or intimidated by going after Edge and doesn't really seem to want to do it. Kyle arrives to help put out the fire, and Lois tells Kyle that Morgan Edge was responsible, but Chrissy points out there's no proof of that, and Kyle, who's kind of a fan of Edge, doesn't really want to hear it either. Back at the farm, Jonathan asks Jordan if he's done playing football now and got it out of his system, but Jordan insists that no, he wants to be a part of the team and he's not going to quit. Jonathan points out that with his powers, it's probably not a good idea for him to play football, and I agree. I mean, you've got an unstable, emotionally unstable 14-year-old with enhanced abilities. It seems like it's only a matter of time before he's going to cripple another kid, but, you know, what do I know? Meanwhile, Clark and Lois are out on the front porch drinking wine. Why is it with wine on this show? Every other scene, it seems like Clark and Lois are hitting the vino. And how Clark can hear stuff in China, but then not hear the brothers upstairs in their room arguing is beyond me, but somehow he doesn't. The following day, Clark runs into Lana in town, and they start having a discussion about her family issues, and then she mentions about how the boys are starting to settle in, and congratulates Clark on how well Jordan is doing on the football team. And of course, Clark thinks, oh, you mean Jonathan? But she says, no, I mean Jordan, because apparently he's on the team now. And of course, Clark isn't thrilled to hear that. At football practice, the coach decides to have the players do, one-on-one drills where they just kind of block or tackle each other. And Sean, Sarah's boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, he actually broke up with her, or rather she broke up with him earlier in the episode. He wants to go up against Jordan, of course, and Jordan flattens him. And it seems at this point that Jordan is kind of starting to win over people on the football team and gain friends. Of course, after school, Clark confronts Jordan and Jonathan about Jordan playing on the team and says that it's a bad idea, Jordan shouldn't be playing. And plot twist, Jordan throws a tantrum and has a meltdown. But Jonathan points out to Clark that Jordan's actually fitting in very well on the football team and starting to make friends, and he actually seems to be kind of happy playing football, and he suggests that maybe they should let Jordan keep playing. Meanwhile, Lois goes to meet with the mother of that worker who was missing, I forget her name, and some other people, but when she arrives at the hotel room, the door's smashed in, and when she comes in, the place is ransacked, and then a guy with a beard attacks her. She stabs him in the ear with a friggin' pin, but it doesn't even seem to bother him. He attacks her, and then she hits the signal device to call Superman. Superman arrives and fights the guy, and this guy is actually able to go toe-to-toe with Superman. Superman has to actually kind of work to put the guy down and eventually knocks him through a wall out into the parking lot. Now, the woman Lois was going to meet with appears to have been strangled, and she's not breathing, so she calls Superman, and he rushes her to the hospital to save her. Jordan and Clark have a talk, and Clark decides to allow Jordan to play football, which seems like a bad decision to me, but he decides that he'll allow it under one condition: if he gets to be part of the team and be around Jordan more often. And the coach agrees to let him become an assistant trainer. Then we go to Lois and Chrissy at the Gazette, and Chrissy has gotten some camera footage from a nearby gas station of the guy that attacked Lois, and they're sure he's working for Morgan Edge, but they don't have any actual proof. Then we see the guy driving in a car on a road in the middle of nowhere, and as he's driving, then we see a woman standing in the road in his path. He comes to a stop, and then she fries him with some heat vision. And then she makes a call on her cell phone and says that it's taken care of. So apparently she was working for Edge too and was cleaning up loose ends, I guess. And the episode pretty much ends there. So yeah, this episode kind of tedious. Lots of family drama stuff, which I wasn't really interested in. And this whole idea of Jordan playing football, obviously this is just a time bomb waiting to go off. Jordan's emotionally unstable. He cannot control his temper. He almost nearly attacks Sean earlier in the episode, and he might have done something drastic there if Clark hadn't showed up. So it's pretty much only a matter of time before he maims or cripples some other kid on the football field in some way. So anyway, overall, this episode, kind of boring, kind of mediocre. Not really excited about it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And while you're at it, please do hit the like button, please do sub to the channel, and please hit the bell for notifications. And I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.